Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are diving deep into one of the most iconic and collectible coins in American history. The Washington Quarter, a coin that has not only been a staple of U.S. currency since its introduction in 1932, but has also become a centerpiece for numismatists and coin enthusiasts around the globe, and in this video we'll uncover its fascinating background, its physical dimensions, its changing designs, the incredible auction records that have stunned collectors, and the current market values that continue to attract attention from investors and hobbyists alike. So let's begin with the history and background of the Washington Quarter, because understanding where this coin came from helps us appreciate its enduring significance. The Washington Quarter was first minted in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. At the time, the United States Mint was searching for a design that would embody the spirit of the nation and celebrate one of its greatest founding figures. Several proposals were considered, but ultimately the Treasury and the Commission of Fine Arts approved a design by John Flanagan, whose obverse featured a profile of George Washington adapted from Jean-Antoine Houdon's famous bust. This image of Washington has remained a central feature of the coin across decades with only minor modifications. The original composition of the Washington Quarter in 1932 was 90% silver and 10% copper, giving it not only intrinsic metallic value but also a rich luster and weight that collectors find appealing even today. These early silver quarters continued to be struck until 1964, after which rising silver prices and economic pressures forced the mint to switch to a clad composition of copper and nickel beginning in 1965. This marked a significant turning point in the history of U.S. coinage because silver quarters became increasingly rare in circulation and started to be hoarded by the public. From a physical standpoint, the Washington Quarter measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter, has a thickness of about 1.75 millimeters, and weighs 6.25 grams in its silver form and 5.67 grams in its clad form. Its reeded edge not only gives it a distinctive feel but also historically helped deter clipping and counterfeiting over the decades. The Washington Quarter has undergone several design changes, most notably the State Quarters program, which began in 1999 and ran until 2008, followed by the America the Beautiful Quarters program, which launched in 2010. These programs brought unprecedented popularity to the quarter by highlighting state symbols, historical sites, and national parks, creating millions of new collectors worldwide. Yet among all these changes, the portrait of George Washington has remained, symbolizing continuity, heritage, and national pride. Now when we shift to the auction records and collector market for Washington Quarters, the story becomes even more fascinating. Certain dates and mint marks have reached astronomical values at auction. For example, the legendary 1932D and 1932S quarters, both of which had very low mintages compared to other issues, are among the most sought-after key dates in the entire series. In uncirculated condition, these coins can easily command tens of thousands of dollars. One example of a 1932D Washington Quarter in superb condition sold for over $80,000 at auction, while other high-grade specimens of the 1932S have crossed the $40,000 mark. Then we have the 1937 double die obverse quarter, which is sold for more than $20,000 depending on grade, and another extraordinary rarity is the 1943S Washington Quarter struck on a silver dime planchet, which sold for well over $20,000 as an error coin. Minting errors like off-center strikes, double strikes, and wrong planchet errors are highly prized in the quarter series, but the biggest shockers have come from special proof and high-grade silver issues. For instance, a 1950D Washington Quarter graded MS68 Plus by PCGS sold for nearly $50,000, and a 1949D graded MS68 brought close to $45,000, highlighting how quality and condition play a massive role in determining value. Moving further into the modern era, the State Quarter series also saw spectacular sales, especially for coins struck with errors such as double die reverses, missing clad layers, or experimental planchets. One 2000P South Carolina Quarter missing its nickel-clad layer sold for several $1,000, while a 1999 Delaware Spitting Horse die variety quarter continues to be one of the most popular modern errors, commanding strong premiums among collectors. Internationally, the Washington Quarter has also made waves, with rare silver issues being sold in European and Asian markets where demand for American historical coins continues to grow. In fact, auctions in the UK and Germany have featured top-grade Washington Quarters that achieved prices similar to U.S. sales, reflecting global collector demand. But perhaps the most eye-opening auction result in the history of Washington Quarters came from a 1932 Washington Quarter pattern coin, a rare piece not intended for circulation, which sold for well over $100,000, establishing just how high collectors are willing to go for exceptional specimens. When we transition to the current market value of Washington Quarters, it becomes clear that the series continues to offer something for every type of collector. Common-clad Washington quarters from 1965 onward typically carry only face value in circulation, but uncirculated rolls and high-grade examples can command premiums. Silver Washington quarters from 1932 to 1964, on the other hand, are always worth more than face value because of their silver content, with each coin containing approximately 0.18 troy ounces of silver. As of today's silver prices, this equates to around $4 to $5 per coin just for melt value alone, but the numismatic value often greatly exceeds melt value, especially for key dates, high mint state grades, and certified coins. Collectors often pay anywhere from $10 to $500 for common silver quarters in mint state condition, while key dates like the 1932D and 1932S can reach thousands even in mid-grades, proof Washington quarters, particularly those struck before 1968 at the Philadelphia Mint, are also highly collectible, with cameo and deep cameo examples selling for strong premiums at auction beyond U.S. markets. Demand for Washington quarters remains strong in Canada, Europe, and Asia, where American coinage is often seen as a benchmark of stability and history. Many international collectors are drawn to the Washington quarter because of its blend of affordability for common dates and extreme rarity for key issues, creating a balanced market that appeals to both entry-level hobbyists and seasoned investors. In summary, the Washington quarter's history is one of adaptation and longevity. Its physical dimensions reflect the consistency of U.S. coinage. Its auction records demonstrate the staggering heights collectors are willing to pay for key dates and high-grade examples, and its current market value showcases the broad range of opportunities available to coin enthusiasts today, whether you are searching for a common silver quarter, a modern era coin, or a six-figure rarity. The Washington quarter has something unique to offer, and that's why it continues to stand out as one of the most important and valuable coins in American numismatics. When it comes to the second part of our deep dive into the Washington quarter, we now shift our focus toward the rarest aspects of the series, its unique features that make certain coins stand out, the way condition affects rarity and value, and some essential tips for collectors who want to pursue this coin as a long-term hobby or investment, starting with rarity. Because rarity is not always about the absolute number of coins minted, but rather about survival rates in high condition. While millions of Washington quarters were struck each year, the earliest issues from 1932, such as the 1932D and 1932S, are well known as the true key dates of the series, with low mintages and even lower survival rates in mint state, making them centerpiece coins in any collection, but rarity extends far beyond just those two dates, since some later issues in the 1930s and 1940s are remarkably difficult to find in superb gem condition because of weak strikes, bag marks, and the heavy circulation these coins endured. This means that while a circulated example of a 1939 Washington quarter may not seem rare, a high-grade MS-67 specimen with blazing luster and pristine surfaces is a different story altogether, and those are the ones that can fetch thousands at auction. Moving on to unique features. The Washington quarter series has an extensive list of varieties and errors that make it exciting for collectors. One of the most famous is the 1934 double die obverse, which shows noticeable doubling in the motto "In God We Trust." Another is the 1943 S double die obverse and the 1950 D/S over mintmark variety, in which the Denver mintmark was struck over an S, creating a highly collectible and fascinating variety. Mintmark varieties are particularly important in Washington quarters because they reflect the working practices of the U.S. Mint during the mid-20th century when hand-punched mintmarks were common, resulting in numerous repunched mintmark errors. Another category of unique features involves major minting errors, including off-center strikes, broad strikes, missing clad layers, and transitional errors. For instance, a number of 1,965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets intended for the previous year, creating a rare transitional error that is worth thousands of dollars today. Equally fascinating are modern errors from the state quarters program, such as the 2004 D Wisconsin Extra Leaf High and Extra Leaf Low varieties, which caused a sensation in the hobby and quickly became must-have coins. These varieties are the perfect example of how even modern circulating coins can suddenly become rare collectibles with significant value. Now, when we talk about rarity in relation to condition, one of the most overlooked aspects of Washington quarters is how damage, circulation wear, or cleaning impacts value. A coin that might otherwise be worth several $1,000s in high grade can lose nearly all its collector value if it has been harshly cleaned, scratched, or damaged. For example, a 1932D in good condition may only bring in a few $100s, but that same coin in mint state 65 with original surfaces could fetch over $20,000. This dramatic price difference highlights why collectors put so much emphasis on condition and grading. Professional third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC play a vital role in authenticating grading, and preserving these coins, giving buyers confidence and stabilizing the market. Speaking of collecting, there are many strategies enthusiasts follow when building a Washington quarter collection. Some prefer a date and mint mark set, which means acquiring one example of every year and every mint that struck Washington quarters. Others prefer to specialize in just silver issues from 1932 to 1964. While modern collectors might chase state quarters or America the Beautiful quarters to complete those ambitious 50-coin or 56-coin sets, one popular approach is the typeset method, where a collector seeks one example of each major design type, such as an early silver quarter, a clad issue, a proof specimen, and perhaps a modern era. This gives a balanced view of the series without requiring the pursuit of ultra-expensive key dates. On the other hand, high-end collectors often focus only on registry sets, where they attempt to obtain the finest graded example of each coin, competing with other collectors on registries maintained by PCGS and NGC. This registry competition has driven up prices of top population coins dramatically in recent years. Now, another important part of collecting Washington quarters is knowing the current market trends. As silver prices rise, the baseline value of pre-1965 quarters also rises, providing a kind of built-in investment hedge. At the same time, the numismatic market has shown steady demand for key dates and high-grade coins, making the Washington quarter a relatively stable series to collect compared to more obscure coinage. International demand also plays a role, especially as U.S. coinage becomes more popular in overseas auctions, with collectors in Europe, China, and the Middle East showing increasing interest. Moving toward tips for collectors, perhaps the most crucial piece of advice is to buy quality over quantity. A single high-grade Washington quarter with original surfaces can be a better long-term investment than dozens of common circulated examples. Next, avoid cleaned or damaged coins unless you're buying them as placeholders, since those will never carry the same appeal or market value. Always learn to identify varieties and errors, because those can turn ordinary-seeming coins into extraordinary finds. For example, pulling a 1934 double die or a 2004 D Wisconsin extra leaf quarter from a dealer's junk box can yield huge rewards. Networking with other collectors, joining numismatic associations, and attending coin shows are also great ways to learn and gain access to rare pieces. For new collectors, starting with a simple silver Washington quarter set is often the best introduction, while advanced collectors may aim for a full 1932 to 1964 run, including proofs and varieties. Now, in conclusion, the Washington quarter is far more than just pocket change. It is a coin that tells the story of American history, artistry, and economic change over nearly a century. From the first 1932 silver issues commemorating George Washington's 200th birthday to the clad issues of the modern era, to the explosion of collecting interest during the state quarters program, it has consistently remained a coin of both financial and historical importance. Its rarity lies not just in low mintages but in the survival of pristine examples. Its unique features include double dies, over mint marks, and modern varieties that keep collectors engaged. And its market continues to thrive thanks to a combination of silver value, numismatic demand, and international interest. For investors, the Washington quarter offers stability and potential, while for hobbyists it offers a lifetime of collecting enjoyment. So whether you are just starting out or are a seasoned collector chasing those elusive MS-68 examples, the Washington quarter deserves a place in your collection as one of the most valuable and iconic coins ever struck by the United States Mint. And with new generations continuing to discover the thrill of coin collecting, there is little doubt that the Washington quarter will remain one of the most searched for, studied, and treasured coins in the numismatic world for decades to come. Thanks for watching.